Hello.
Hello. Welcome to Red Hen Press's virtual reading and conversation series. I'm Monica Fernandez, Media Manager at Red Hen.
And I'm Toby Harper, Deputy Director.
We're thrilled to be able to bring this exciting event to you today. In honor of Black History Month, we asked a few of our authors and some friends from the Peauxdunque Writers Alliance to join us for a reading and conversation on the history and future of Black literature. We're so excited to welcome them here this afternoon. Moderating the conversation is the incomparable Maurice Carlos Ruffin. Maurice, take it away.
Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to be gathered here on this fantastic Thursday in Black History Month. Before I introduce our readers, I want to mention the prose award that Red Hen Press and Peauxdunque has joined together to create. Red Hen Press, in a new partnership with Peauxdunque Writers Alliance, announced the creation of a new publication prize focusing on Black prose authors. The Ann Petry Award is for a work previously unpublished, either a novel or a collection of short stories or novellas with at least 150 pages by a Black writer. The prize for this Ann Petry Award is $3,000, and the submission date is July 30th. Check it out on Red Hen Press's website. We want to get as many people entering the contest as possible. And now I will tell you who you're going to hear tonight. First up, we have Khalisa Rae, who is a femme poet, activist, and journalist in Durham, North Carolina, and author of Real Girls Have Real Problems, a chapbook. Her poetry can be seen in Occam, Rust and Moth, Frontier, Crab Fat, Damaged Goods, and many other fine publications. She's the winner of the Bright Wings Poetry Contest. And currently, the founder of Thinkin' Inc. and WOC Speak Series. She also serves as the Writing Center Director at Shaw University. Next up, we have, from New Orleans, Louisiana, Karisma Price. Karisma holds an MFA in poetry from New York University. Her work has appeared in Poetry, Four-Way Review, Wildness, and the Adroit Journal, as well as many other places. She's received fellowships from Cave Canem and New York University, and was the winner of the 2019 Best of the Net Prize. She's currently a visiting professor of poetry at Tulane University. And next up, I will talk about Mr. Dexter L. Booth, who is the author of Scratching the Ghost, which won the 2012 Cave Canem Poetry Prize and was selected by Major Jackson. Booth is currently a contributing editor for Wax Wing Journal, a PhD candidate and provost fellow at the University of Southern California, and a professor in the Ashland University MFA program. And next, Nordette Adams is a published poet, fiction writer, and journalist who grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. She's published on her personal blogs and other websites as well. Her work has been included in referencing books such as the Social Issues in Literature series by Red Hen Press. I should also mention that in 2016, her 2014 blog post critiquing the Oxford English Dictionary's choice to use the phrase "a rabid feminist" as its common usage example of the word "rabid" drew international attention and played a role in influencing the dictionary company to review its choice. She was awarded the Marcus B. Christian Scholarship to attend graduate school, and has an MFA in poetry from the University of New Orleans, as well as an MA in English. And last but certainly not least, Tay Smith is the author of the chapbook Permission to Speak and the full-length collection Here We Are, as well as a reflection of God Gone Mad. His short fiction appears or is forthcoming in several publications, including Tin House, Flavity, Black Girls in Antenna, and the Iowa Review. Tay was also the 2015 Writer in Residence at the Rhode Island Writers Colony, and the 2020 Writer in Residence for Disney Plus Reimagine Tomorrow, and the recipient of the Tunnel Vision 2020 Poetry Prize for the 2021 Academic Passion Planner. He currently lives and teaches history and creative writing in New Orleans, Louisiana. Thank you, and now we're going to start our show properly.
Oh, we're starting with me. Okay. Hi, I'm Nordet Adams, and today I'm reading 3 poems for you. The first one is Prelude to a Break from News. When you see the brother on Facebook, red, black, and green crocheted cap throwback on his head, Marvin Gaye make me want to holler beard, he's ranting. Reopening cities with the virus loose is strategic, not to save the economy, but to increase likelihood that more Black people die. You consider probabilities. Have you been duped, fallen into faith that this nation pursues a common good? Or is his conspiracy theory merely sign of a man cracked in two? He reasons leaders demand your safety or your paycheck. Aren't those the same in this land? Your job or your life, your head or your neck, choose which you will have snatched. And he talks to you in your dreams when you wake and brush your teeth, when you dress and don your mask and place your hand on the bright brass doorknob of your home's exit after the stay order expires. You drive to work cautious as grandma. You bargain with your foremother's gods. Black face man appears, an apparition raving on the roadside, and morphs into Central Park bird watcher, filming white woman who threatens 911, shifts into George Floyd, prostrate beneath a knee, and cries out, "Mama." Then you swerve, avoiding a crash with the car in front. You clock into work by fingerprint, reckoning your value. May the raging, sorry, my thing is messing up. Hold on. May the raging heat in your throat remain solely this heavy world. And the next poem, I decided to read this one because of the discussion of this event tonight, which is Black history and it's the future of literature, Black literature. It's called Contemporary Rhetoric and Composition. You are so standard. Why write like this? English is a white man's tongue. Stupid me and my indoctrination. I am American by birth and blood, daughter of the South, descended from slaves. Is it a Black tongue she expects? My claim and genealogies of nationally bastardized Anglo-Saxon, clear syntax with subject, verb, conforming, steadfast participle is forfeit. But my code switching nimble tongue is native to my hybrid mind. Not one thing. We worked at this. I was made to speak and write this way to save my life. Assimilate. Still in art, the double binding gripe that County Cullen heard and all the Black tongues beaten down to speak the Buckra speech. You're out of touch. You're out of style. You sound too white, girl. Blacken up. Blacken up. Oh, the minstrel be what they want. Shall I be silent or dissemble? With fair skin and like guilt, she thinks she woke and will wake me to what? Be the Black that she like? Drop an earring, go dreads or tea on bound in Nigerian echoed cape? Is she woke or safe when Blacks brand as one Black? It bees that way sometimes by and by when the moment come. All the Blacks who can carry on. Pretend they the same step and fetch it to get published, held, and paid. As indistinguishable as when enslaved. And the last poem that I'm sharing is LaShonda Morgan at Ashland Plantation. It's an ekphrastic poem based on a photograph by Chandra McCormick, 1996, south of Geismar, Louisiana. When past talks to present, it asks, have you seen the little black girl in the wormhole? She is then and now locked in a great puzzle, trapped in the land of cotton and sugar or oil, peering between wooden slats, wet-eyed. She could be either place on Duncan Kenner's Ashland Plantation, 1860, or whatever still stood in Ascension Parish, 1986, one dot in a budding Cancer Alley. All we see are her 8 little fingers on a darkened, weathered plank boxed into slave cabin or barn. How should we know the difference? A little girl should tire posing for that long. No one sees how she shifts behind the wall. Maybe she worries the splinters in her fingers, awaits fresh air. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us. I want to thank all the other readers. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody, and thank Red Hen for putting this on. I'm going to read a couple of poems from my chapbook, Rhapsody. First one is entitled Angel's Glow. Listen, there was a hurt in our heels all night that is the whistling after a bullet, the song of a night bird cinching the spine. Those who hear it wake to see someone feasting at their feet as they sit up in their beds. Listen, the night wind balls over our bodies. From far off, the dead sing faintly, a preacher's yell filling the congregation giving up their souls in the old spirit dance. We say, even guilty feet have rhythm. You can see it if you press your face to the hoods of Los Angeles cop cars. You can't see it on the dash cams, but it is being clubbed into our faces. It is being ground into beef patty wagons and served to us on platters by foxes in tuxedos. Here's to the news of would-be presidents endorsed by Klansmen. Here's to whitewashing and appropriating everything except the dead and the bullet and the sentence. What does it mean to be not guilty? In the streets of North Carolina, bags of peppermints and Smarties dropped in driveways for children. Save our land. Join the Klan. This rain, too, loves to dance. It is harder work than you'd imagine, putting your hands up and making them stay there. It is harder work still, being the blood rushing to close those wounds. Take your pick. Prick the palms. Jag between the ribs. Pry open the chest with the Confederate flagpole. If cavalry exists, it is the hill in Eaton where the freed slaves yanked the nails from the godson's hands, where the only traces of our possession are footprints in the soil beneath praise cabins, sweat from the elders' fingers clasped around mouths shouting, Union soldiers in Shiloh, blue shrapnel wounds glowing, giving mercy from infection. If cavalry exists, it is this. A white officer called for a noise complaint, joining 4 black teams in a game of basketball. Listen, it is not gravity that suppresses the dead. It is memory without rhythm. Look at the bodies in their black hoods. Now watch them dance. Watch them dance. This next poem is entitled After the Last Flower is Trampled for Sandra Blaine. After the last flower is trampled, the snapped stalks of the field peer in the direction for miles, into the eye of the officer, the eye of the dead black male, of the pistol on its side, reflected in liquid marbles of blood. Soon we will return. Soon Our shouts will ring in the bowels of right churches. But first, hold my hand. Where we step, the mountains shrink back. Water is stretching up through the earth, and we are haloed with shadows in the rising tide. Our ancestors swim around us. We are something. On the back of this ocean, a dot of pepper. A crow rowing in drunken circles, a boat made from the bones of brothers. Hold my hand until the water is darker than any death. Don't look away. After the last flower is trampled, let's contemplate the majesty of trees, how they stay where they first fall, how the seeds erect themselves in spite of gravity, oppression, doing what we cannot, growing back into dirt, leaves 1,000 middle fingers for the sky that turns like a mother in the maw of a dream, grumbling a truth, coming thunder. Imagine holding your motto poles while beetles march along the bridge of you. Strange birds snap at your face and drink the warm nectar of your wounds. A knife sings the story of 2 teenagers into your back. Ropes tied to you and people hung like laundry by other people. And everything is dancing. Could you keep your hips straight until the feet of the dead cease echoing? Keep your arms raised after they clip the rope, even if they never do? My last poem is entitled Neo-Astronaut Anthem. And they wait across the changes and the spiraling dead, our black revival, our black vinegar, our hands and our hot blood. Gwendolyn Brooks. Told we are cursed, we sing hymns and lift our tongues to the moon. Hoping they hear us, we dance across this bark, await the weightlessness of unruly being. Across the universe we fly, in an oil drum or the casing of a bullet. We outline the changes we have made in history with chalk, and the shape is our bodies laid across the doorstep of their God. Our future, spiraling free-fall planet that it is, we will find it dead if we cannot heed this slag. Believe me, our fables don't end like this. We know the black because we come from it. The trope. Revival after 3 days in the dark. Records bay. Our ancestors were strange fruit that grew black on the rope-stemmed branches. Pour vinegar on any wound, you'll find relief. This is not our science. Yesterday, I drew a universe on my hands and feet with the tip of a nail. I have charted and mapped this body so that it is safe to dream. Our breath will form new constellations as we sing. Hot and dense our voices. Hot and dense our blood. Thank you.
Hi. Just repeating what everyone has said. Thank you for having me a part of this reading. It's a pleasure to be here. Sorry, there's a loud car that decided to pass when it was my turn. It knew I was reading. But reading 2 poems. The first one I have never really read out loud before, so I'm going to see how it sounds. I was inspired by reading an article from The Advocate about how there was a patch of land and no one knew that slaves were buried under it, and it used to be a sugar plantation. So this is called Buck Jump. Buck Jump. Everything left of the slaves is near the sugar. We slurp the syrup after the cane. Near the sugar, everything left of the slaves. Come cut the cane into caricatures, calculate the culture in our lips, calculate their capacity. Insidious, my siblings, aren't we inaccurate in our suffering? We suffer more, we buck jump and whoop and whoop. We season, turn still, outside, obvious, arbor, ambivalence, abhorrent pine. In the pine, the true sparrow pipes. Near the sugar, everything left of the slaves. pint-sized precaution. Everything inside a stocking hangs. Near the sugar, tell me what is left of the slaves. Do not slurp the syrup. Instead, buck jump here in this heat. Invest in the fade. Farther ahead, the long-haired men circumnavigate nostalgia into a braid, then nuke it. Buck jump, whoop, whoop. Stomp your foot into the bouillon, turns bullion. Long-haired and loyal, we saliva-soaked spirituals in Mississippi water. Chant, chant. We big black radios, tall tongues. We big black radios, tall tongues. We buck jump and jump and jump and whoop and whoop. We big black radios and tall tongues. We jump, whoop and whoop and whoop and whoop. I want to do right by us. I'll say it plain. Everything left of the slaves, sugar. Near the sugar, everything left. The slave slugs move fast on a face furious with fear. Woozy and world-worn, I keep a grill in my wallet, give myself freedom like a white forefather. Come, look at me whoop and jump, my smile a beam, a pinto's buck. To all you gladiators, I'm weary and bitter. Worry me in my black city, come fire, I watch you and you wither. Everything left of me is sugar, alabaster, Angola, melancholy marginalia, mama, daddy, nigga in the alley, punctuated southpaw, pathological pusherman, come calculate. All that's left of me, no sugar left in the tank. If a tall man is blue, is ready to do what he does, what does that make me but a slave? In this next poem, it's called My Phone Autocorrects the Word Nigga Tonight. My nights play cousin to their mother's favorite kettles. My nights won't consume their reflections, so they pour milk in their coffee. My nights never rest, so they sing their shadows to sleep. Sometimes they don't remember any words. My nights have frogs stuck in their throats. No light soul, every bit of pain. My nights all Louis Armstrong minus a trumpet, and my nights play chicken with the train. My nights both shoe and polish, both Sambo and Bruce Leroy. We all little pretty medallions on our grandmother's nightstands. My nights are mistaken for other nights that bear no resemblance. I saw the sinew of the oldest knight in the neighborhood on the floor, his Saint pendant missing. All the small, down-feathered knights scatter from the groans of pig sirens. My nights don't know their history. My nights are pecans without the trees that grow them. My nights instruct all the people in their head to weep. My nights hate the fireflies cutting their darkness. My night, did you see them? They just walked right past us and didn't even speak. My nights are ordinary, wear ruffled socks, have the best belts. My nights don't always go to church, but my nights are lambs worthy of the morning. My nights are revised constitutions, crypt keepers. My nights are a congregation of alligators on a rumpus bayou. My nights hiss into themselves. No one hears. Their blood rolls its eyes. My nights chew gum and sunflower seeds. My nights eat pork. My nights get the itis and slur their speech. My nights protest protests. The government watches. My nights live in Brazil, Botswana, the Congo, Cuba, DR, France, Greece, Grenada, Honduras, Ireland, Liberia, Lithuania, Nigeria, Venezuela, Zimbabwe. My nights live in America to remind you of me. Some people think my nights are better with their eyes closed, but my nights have beautiful corneas. My nights wash clothes that don't belong to them and won't look their bosses in the eye. My nights no necessity. My nights oblige. When my nights die, I wash them on my kitchen table. After my nights are washed, I throw away the table. My nights have names. My nights smell of sage. My nights smell of the muddy rivers they will never swim in again. I think I'll end with one quick poem and then I'll be out of your hair. This is called I'm Always So Serious. I'm always so serious. Which is to say, in the winters, I dream of owning a multi-floored mansion in New Orleans, specifically one on St. Charles Avenue with a wraparound porch and white pillars that would only see the likes of me if I were the maid, the midwife, the family mechanic, Archie Manning, the maintenance worker, or the mailman trusted enough to know the gate's 9-digit passcode and leave the mail resting on the family's rain-weathered mahogany rocking chair. In this particular dream, I'm the mailman. The marigold's red tongues lick the legs of the chair as I leave the mail on one of its non-refurbished lead-painted arms. Their green necks rapidly invade the eggshell-painted porch like any poor soldier in need of his salt. I rip one from the ground for the sake of killing. Look it in its yellow center, a vibrant blister, before I rub it between my knuckles and render it a freshly ground thing. Looking back, this poem was only supposed to be about my sinuses, how even in my dreams I sneeze at the sight of untended weeds, flowers whose mouths unfold under the brazen light of the sun. The nightmare is supposed to be my allergies, how they only allow me to love what blooms from a distance, but in every dream, those vibrant marigolds keep growing. Their vines are needle-thin tumors that keep stretching crazily onto the porch, keep making the rocking chair nervous at its own home. When I see that rocking chair, I see blood. It rocks like a heartbeat running from whatever is inside that mansion or behind it with a whip. Thank you.
Wow. I'm just honored to be here, but wow, Karisma, that has got me feeling away. Amazing to be followed up by these amazing poets. So happy to be here. Tonight, I'm going to be reading from my forthcoming collection with Red Hen Press. It's called Ghost in a Black Girl's Throat. It's available for pre-order now. It debuts April 13th. Karisma actually inspired me to read this poem first, actually. I was really moved by her poems. And so I want to start with Exit Speech. It's for Michelle Obama. She did a campaign for Subway's healthy eating. And I just checked out the comments that were just displayed after her campaign video, and they were horrendous. And so this is the poem that I crafted after that. Exit Speech. Call her monkey, mammy, pickaninny. Call her common, unworthy of sitting on white throne. Call her black ink spot in your psychological exam. Call her tar baby blues bitch. Call her Negro nigga never made it. Call her heretic. Call her communist. Call her black cloud raining over white sky. Say that nothing black will ever guide your tongue. That nothing the color of soot and sawdust will ever tell you what to put in your mouth. Well, I seem to remember, master, how we stern wooden spoon mixing magic in kitchen, mixing fried freedom, form of large smothered dough and fat back, how we ham hocked our way onto your dinner table, smothered peas and pork chop, peach cobbler slithered our necks into your dining room. We collard green glided across plate into mouth, spicy scrambled egg, then flapjacked onto fork, hot water cornbread coaxed our way onto your tablecloths. And you ate every bit of us. You sopped us off our syrup, biscuit with butter and molasses, drowned us down with tooth-aching sweet tea. And you loved our sugar. You licked us off your fingers and begged for seconds. We, the cook, the server, the dishwasher, the background music to your meals, singing food so good we stuck our foot in it, singing all that sweat and spit went into that soup. And you ignored our forthright song, your bellies full with greed. We have been the decider of what meanders into your cotton mouths for centuries, you smug snake. You have been tasting our sweat and tears, jagged Jehovah notes floating into every recipe. Been tasting our sorrow and sincerest hate. So take a seat at our table. Let us fix you one final plate of harsh reality. I hope it goes down like gumbo glass slivers. So when you start to boycott, when you warm your throat to speak, you will feel how deeply we rest on your tongue. Thank you. I'm gonna switch gears just a little bit. I've been moved by everybody so much tonight. This is my first time reading with Red Hen and being in conversation with these other authors, and it's been such a joy already just to be in their presence. This next piece that I want to read is for the Natural African American History Museum. I found a picture of the slave ship remnants that they had uncovered, and I was so moved by the information just about the remnants and the bones and all kinds of relics that they dug up for the curation of the museum. And so this is Mermaids and Ghost Ships. Give me 1 second while I pull that up. Mermaids and Ghost Ships. Off the coast of Cape Town, deep sea divers discovered remnants of our bodies stuck to the roof of the ocean, like gemstones, a treasure chest of bones choking on salt water. Cadavers hidden under floorboards of the sea, bodies, parts of this pirate ship, a floating testament to the iron chains, now a rusting relic. Wood warped and withered, carrying memories of men made to lie head to feet, rows of bodies boarded up beneath the deck. Ask Oladawa Ikwanawa and he will tell you of the bloodlines scattered. The Atlantic carrying the putrid waste, the bile and disease, the screams of women and children raped purely to pass the time, their cries muffled by the crashing waves, whips, boots, jaws, and teeth settled beneath the hull, each limb proof that we were stolen cargo. And some will still refute the evidence, claiming we were merely mermaids, just ghosts to sing about, a myth and nothing more. I am going to just read one more piece. So just checking notes in the chat, making sure I'm not going over time. I'm going to read this next piece. I had the pleasure of seeing Alice Walker speak live in Wilmington. I'm from North Carolina, and a lot of my heroes and my great literary sheroes have come to my city and my state. And so I wrote buzzwords and banned books and then an epilogue for banned books for Alice Walker after I heard her and Toni Morrison speak. And I teach students that oftentimes say that they have no idea who that is. And it just, oh my gosh, it breaks my heart. So this is buzzwords and banned books. I learned them on the page first, fell apart in assembled notions of suicide, held brilliant pain, beloved in the hands of a mother saving her baby from slavery. Felt the throb of each purple bruise on Miss Seeley's back blister and turn blue. Heard the silence that consumes a man, proving Black boys are invisible still. Knew cage birds would sing their way to freedom as long as their eyes stayed on him. Prayed Pecola would discover the beauty that stretches beyond her skin. Learned compassion is the greatest lesson for dying and all that lies within. And yet we still omit stories, blackout pages, broken fragments in a forgotten land. We should cement these words in history, not conceal truths and label them banned. What I know is there are still children who haven't heard Maya's name, haven't viewed God through the eyes of Zora, haven't heard her bitter, twisted refrain, haven't wailed on the mount with Baldwin or spoke of divergent dreams with Lorraine, haven't read the history of immortal generations or discover implicit truths with Wright, unlocked freedom with Alexander, or saw Claude turn ghettos to promised lands at night. Some children still don't know the fire of passion in Malcolm, the beauty of native son. And they will never know where they're headed until they see all the immaculate places they've come from. Thank y'all so much. I'm gonna turn it over. I appreciated being here. It's an honor.
Well, Sam, they call me Lil J. Now, I don't know you yet, so I ain't gonna get into what my real name is and everything right now. My mama, my aunt, my grandma, my pawpaw, my friends, even teachers call me Lil J. I don't remember a time when I wasn't called it. I guess the name just kind of stuck, like J was my reward for surviving all the other alphabets. It's like my real name ain't really my real name, Weird. All right, look, I'm gonna put it like this. Some days I don't feel like life is real. I don't feel like school is real. I don't feel like I'm real, like all is made up. Like all these rules and punishment, like all this death and pain gotta be fake. This all gotta be a part of a dream or a nightmare, and maybe you ain't having the same dream. Maybe you ain't living the same dream. And maybe you can get some rest. Maybe you can get some truth out of all this. I just want somebody to know what happens inside these schools. I hear teachers saying that we don't take our future serious enough, and maybe we don't take any of it serious because don't nobody take us serious. That's why I'm telling you this. I'm trusting that you'll believe me. I'm trusting that you'll know what to do with this once you finish reading my story, which is like all our stories that ain't never been told and believed. I was born in New Orleans. My parents are from New Orleans, and they parents from New Orleans. We ain't got a lot of money, but baby, we proud of being from here. I grew up in the lower 9th Ward. My mama grew up in the Calio projects. My pawpaw was out the Desire projects. Most of them torn down now. They replaced them with some fancy apartments with fresh paint and plants. And yo, you ever notice there ain't no trees in the hood? My TD Shalana say it's because the government trying to melt us down into something better. She come over one day all out of breath, talking about they gentrifying out here. I just saw a white woman walking a dog on Magnolia. Shit so weird, damn lady made me clutch my purse. Now, my pawpaw would say that it's just the New Orleans way. That every year something black closes, that every year something white opens in the same space they used to keep black folk open. They playing chess, he'd say. Only we ain't even much on the board. I don't know if you're at home or if you're in a library or you're on a bus or if you're ducked off in a quiet corner reading this. I don't know if gunshots, if screaming, if police, if storms, if your city hits each ear like a heartbeat drumming in your head, dancing in your head. I don't know if you're like me, if you hear noisy memories that yell into your world, that yell into your focus in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day, in the middle of class, in the middle of trying to live quietly. My city is so loud that people from quiet places, people who know how to forgive themselves real good, fly here. They eat, they drink, they praise themselves like the French Quarter cleanses sins, like Second Line Sundays hold the soundtrack to heaven. I don't know no other place, and I don't want to. If you're from here, New Orleans is born in your bones. Mama says the storm blew your daddy to Houston and he never felt the wind to blow back. Maybe that's why it's so hard to breathe some nights, like the air is starving us, like daddy took most of the wind with him, like I got to breathe for both of us now. Like deep breaths under the cover protects us from any storm that may try to come down I-10. I used to daydream that one day he would surprise me, that one day he'd show up when I was changing classes. I'd hug him, he'd hug me. Everybody else would go to their classrooms and the hallway would be all eyes. We would talk about everything. He would tell me that he's proud of me. He would tell me where he's been. I'd be so happy that I learned right in the middle of that hall, a new way to breathe. I keep this new way safe all day. Then I take it home and show it to mama. My mama, LaToya Jones, went to the same school I go to now. It was called something completely different when she went here. And it'll be called something else after whoever takes it over next year. I've been in this building my whole life. I've seen principals leave and teachers quit on us in the middle of the year. I'm in the 6th grade. And we just found out that the school is closing after this year. So why should I keep trying when the whole damn building giving up? I don't have no idea where I'm going next year. I don't know if it'll be a better at another school, but I figure just about anywhere got to be better than here. If it wasn't for the counselor, Mrs. McLeod, I would have been stopped coming to school a long time ago. You know that teacher everybody likes because they funny, because they let you slide sometime, even when you mess up. It's like going into another building, like another country when you're with them. They got that calm music playing and plants hanging and, you know, that thing that blows out the nice smells. Well, yeah, that's Mrs. McLeod. I have no idea where she's going next year, but I figured just about anywhere would be better because she's there. But yo, I hate my other teachers. I mean, every single one of their raggedy selves. I hate that they don't know what they're doing, so they pick on you. I hate the behavior team. I hate the stupid essays they make us write. I hate walking in a straight line like I'm in jail. I hate level 0. Matter of fact, I hate all them damn levels. I even hate the cafeteria workers, the bus drivers, the custodians, the nurse, the old man who lives with his dog next to the school, the dog who lives with the old man next to the school. But most of all, I hate my social studies teacher, Mr. Warrington, with a passion. You know that teacher that don't let you get away with anything. Like they live to punish kids. Like they live to give out homework. Well, that's Mr. Warrington. Men with no facial hair ain't really men. That's what Mama said. Mr. Warrington got to be about 7 feet tall, long blonde ponytail, round green glasses, pale face like he been hiding from the sun, large body like he been hiding from the gym. I'm glad the school is closing. To be honest, they down bad for not closing this building a long time ago. I missed some days of school and ain't nobody called to check on me. Nobody asked me why. A few adults hit me with the, would you like to talk about it? Like, I hate when people ask that question because they're hoping you say no. So like, I say no. I wish somebody would just say, hey, come talk to me. Hey, come talk to me is like a command with care. Like they're not asking you. Like they see you need it. No one ever says that. No one ever sees that. So why show up just to be yelled at and told to sit down or else? I mean, who would be happy to show up to a place where hardly anyone cares enough to see you? I bet none of these teachers even know that my pawpaw was sick and in the hospital. That he'd been taking chemo so long that he was more at home there than he was with us. Or how sickness can make someone you know look like a stranger. Or how sickness can turn tears into a strange love. I bet they don't know that the doctor with his fake smile came into the room early one night and met with my mama. They don't know that I saw mama melt into the floor in the dark hospital hallway. Or how the blue light stood still, how life stood still just outside the door when she got the news like a paralyzing poison that there was nothing else they could do for him. Now, I don't know if you know what it's like to get the wind knocked out of you. If you know what it's like for something so strong and horrible to happen that it pauses the world you live in. Or what it's like when the person who gives you breath the most stops leaving, you stop breathing how you used to. Every breath from that point on is angry and loud and hard, and it hurts so bad that you scream at anybody, at anything, trying to make you be silent because holding it in hurts your whole body, because holding it in hurts your whole soul. I ain't slept. Mama and I stayed at Ashna Baptist all week, and I still had to come to school. And was sent out of class for sleeping. Like sleeping, no one even asks why I'm tired. Even if I told them, they wouldn't care. They wouldn't care that what I got going on deep on the inside of me is too big to fit inside a normal classroom. Imagine being forced to be normal. First of all, everybody I know, even the weather, a little crazy. Life ain't never showed me nothing normal. Being treated like you're normal is like living in a storm and being graded on the amount of sunshine you produce. And what you supposed to do with that?
Wow. I feel like tonight I've had the pleasure of witnessing so many different kinds of brilliance and innovation. And I think that's appropriate for Black History Month. I think everybody would agree with that. Thank you so much so far. But we're not quite done yet because we have a conversation for people out there listening. And I just have a few questions, and we'll be kind of freewheeling. You can answer, in turn, however you want to. My first question is this: we're all creative people here, poets and writers, and likewise and otherwise. The pieces that you read tonight, can you tell us a little bit about where you were emotionally and how you viewed the world at the time you created the pieces that you have shared with us? Anybody who wants to hop in, just go ahead and do it.
I can start. I would definitely say that my Michelle Obama piece has a lot of stank on it because that's where I was. Like after I was responding to comments that I saw, awful, horrible comments underneath, the first lady of the United States at the time. And I couldn't believe that people had the audacity to say what they did about her. And so for me, the space that I was in was shock, disgust, horror. And so I think each one of my pieces has it's so funny you asked that because each one of my pieces has that extra attitude on there depending on where I was. And definitely, I mean, you can even see the way I read it because I'm a performance poet. I read it much different than the solemn piece about the history museum, because that's a very like solemn place that I was in, versus like, I'm gonna tell you like all my opinions about y'all's comments for my first piece. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the headspace that I was in when crafting my exit speech piece.
So you're right on point. I was wondering exactly about that. Thank you for sharing. Who else? Who else to talk about where you were emotionally and physically in the world when you wrote these pieces?
I think I'll go. When I wrote Exit Ticket, I think I was in a space of, I was doing education reform work, and I was in a space of utter frustration at the idea of the lack of equity of voice for students, especially students of color. And then working in the education field for maybe 20, 25 years now, it seems like, just seeing this recurring cycle over and over again. And then the great savior of the charter school swoops in, and all the stuff that's kind of swept under the rug with that. Like I still teach at a charter school, so I don't want to say too much and get in trouble.
I hear you, brother. Anybody else? Dexter, Nordette, Karisma, where were you emotionally and physically when you wrote one of the pieces that you shared tonight?
Well,
I did. Oh, sorry, you go.
No, go.
The autocorrect poem, I remember I was still in my MFA program, and me and a couple of friends in the program had just left. Like, it was the Irish Poetry Festival. Like, our teacher was the one that ran the festival, so he invited us all to go. And I had been thinking about the night before. Like, I was literally just texting my friends, and it kept like autocorrecting to the word night, like NIGHT. And every time I thought about that, I was like, there could be a poem in that. And I like brushed it off as a joke. And then my friends were like, actually, you could do that. So I sat in a cafe and just wrote it down in like one sort of sitting. You can't see the form since I'm reading it, but it sort of looks like a sideways triangle. So the longest line ends with my nights are ordinary. And I just was thinking about, it's just like there's always something that involves Blackness, and someone always is going to have some type of negative thing to say about just Black people just existing. So it's like just ordinary. So I just wanted that to like be the focus of just like everyday people.
Thank you, Karisma. Nordette, you were going to say?
Oh yeah. Well, I think my first point, I just want to say this too. I have to say really thank you. I'm very honored to have read with you all. I was nervous in the beginning and just totally forgot to say anything and just like rushed in. But you all are just wonderful. All of you young people, just great. The first poem, obviously, you all I'm sure you could tell, is back during the early parts of the pandemic. And it was just I was so overwhelmed. I wrote multiple poems during that period, too long to have read, to read those tonight. But the poem Contemporary Rhetoric and Composition, something that happened to me in graduate school and probably during other parts of my life, just kind of kept bothering me. And this was everything from people trying to tell me I can't write about certain things. It's kind of like it's not Black enough. You're not Black enough. And then the other way, when I write, as many of you tonight, Black folks tend to write, artists often are speaking communally, the communal we. It's like, well, who is that about? What is that? So, and then of course, I'm old enough to have been in that era where, and I was raised by a teacher, constantly correcting you, oh, you have to speak the King's English. You have to do that right. So I had 2 degrees in grad school. One was contemporary rhetoric and composition, and the other was the poetry. And someone even corrected me one time about how to pronounce W.E.B. Du Bois' name. They heard me talking. No, it's Du Bois. It's Du Bois. I'm pretty sure he actually sounded it out for us so we would stop thinking he was French. So those are the kinds of things that impacted me. And then right now we're going through this series of Black artists, just like a new renaissance. And I know we've been through this before, and it'll always be called, oh, this is another Black renaissance. And it's often until the market gets tired of us or decides we just aren't popular anymore. So all of that was going on in my head with that poem, as well as the pressure, not so much today, I don't think, with this current generation, but in the past, to try to sound Black, even if you were raised in a middle-class household and, spoke a certain way. It's like, those people aren't really Black. You have to write something else. So that's where my head was with that.
We love you, Nordette. Dexter, you want to chime in here?
Yeah, I heard there's some feedback on my mic, so I hope that's not coming across here.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. When I wrote the poems that I read, I guess we're kind of still in the middle of this consistent death of Black people by police officers, Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland, et cetera, et cetera. And, like everyone else, I was being bombarded by it every day. And I was in the middle of a PhD program doing some research on, excuse me, the Igbo and African folktales and mythology in Georgia. And for the poem Angel's Glow, I came across this story from the Battle of Shiloh in the Civil War in 1862, I think. There was this moment after the battle where the soldiers are sort of all laying there and they're wounded. And we didn't discover until almost 140 years later a lot of these soldiers end up surviving because there was this random occurrence. They were in a marsh and they happened to get in their wounds this bacteria, these things called nematodes. And the nematodes excrete this thing called P. luminescence, and it basically like eats and nullifies all bacteria around it. And so it like cleared all their wounds, but it also made their wounds glow like a bright green. And so the soldiers called it Angel's Glow. They thought that angels had like saved them and helped them win the battle. And I was thinking about the relationship between something like this, something that's random and unknowable, and what that means to the survival of Black people in America. And that's really what all the poems that I read tonight were about, is me considering like, what does it mean to survive? And for me, at least, part of the survival means facing the past like head on. And so in the second poem that I read, after the last fly was trampled, the Sandra Bland poem, there's that refrain of "Don't look away." I wanted to write poems that really force people to look at what's happening and to not, we're so used to, I think it happens so often that we lose the names. We turn off the TV. It happens so often, and I really, as a poet, wanted to find a way to praise all these people that we are losing, to remember them by forcing people to look at their stories. And that's really what my poems tonight are about.
Thank you so much, Dexter. And I can tell we have time for one or two more questions. I do want to get into this one. All of us have been around just long enough, at least, to have witnessed a transition from the Obama era to the era of 45. And now we're post 45, theoretically. We don't know what the future yet. How y'all feeling right now as people and as artists, as creators? How is this new moment where like the air that was so sort of pressured until maybe a month ago, supposedly, is being let out? Has things changed? What's your opinion?
So I think, America hasn't changed, right? My grandmother would say this thing, is an elephant heavy? So like, it's the same thing, right? I think, it's this kind of like lesser of the evils and giving us a chance to kind of breathe. But I think it's more of a breath of preparation for more work. I think it can be easy because that's, what this nightmare does, right? It lulls us to sleep. So I think that's what we ought to be careful of.
Thank you, Tay. Anybody else want to chime in?
I would say, yeah, I didn't want to go first because I'm glad Tay said it first. There's no like breath of comfortability for me. You know, like living in the South, it's always a daily battle. It's a daily battle being in the South. I'm not gonna lie to you. So, I mean, the changes of presidencies like really doesn't change the fact that it's ever present all the time. Racism is so thick and heavy everywhere, but here it's a whole nother brand, and that's a lot like what I write about. And so I think Tay is absolutely right. Like when the shift happened, I was just like, okay, that's like a day to rest so that I can amp up so I can fight another day and like keep my blades sharp and like my bow swinging, because I know like the fight doesn't stop. You know, like that doesn't mean that like somehow we get to rest. So yeah, I think yeah, I'm keeping the pen moving because I know that like I have additional fights left. Yeah.
I thought we saw racism, police, but I guess we did.
Nah.
We solved it again because they said that when President Obama was elected, we're post-racial, which we immediately knew was not true. But
Well, no, then I am curious. I mean, you know, you sort of alluded to it yourself a little bit earlier. You know, you've seen a few more presidential transitions than maybe some of us have seen. I'm just curious if you have any other thoughts about that, about this moment versus, you know, what's coming up now.
well, I have to my friends who tell me I'm too pessimistic, but I really believe that based on how this country was founded,
Mm.
uh, basically from the standpoint of certain groups of humans are not worthy and are indeed subhuman, and their bodies, you know, provide money for us, and we can even mortgage our plantations against their bodies and so forth. I kind of feel that it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time to overcome that. And we see it still today. Just when, I'll give an example, when President when Hillary lost and 45 won, all this attention was suddenly, it's the white blue collar worker. We have to pay attention. They have been neglected simply without just playing into this idea that people already believe certain people already believe that that's an oppressed group, which we look at history and we know that's not true. That's just people who don't really like the idea of sharing equality. So yeah, I'm not the most optimistic person. I believe it'll get better, but it's going to be a long time. I say all the time, I'll be dead and gone before some of this stuff gets worked out. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Well, I think you'll be with us either way for always. But I do want to ask if Karisma or Dexter had anything to chime in with here.
I mean, I don't have much to add. I think everyone else was really articulate about it, but I feel similarly that I think you asked if America is changing now, and I think for Black people, probably not so much. It's going to be a while, and I mean, I think we saw that with Obama. Not that Obama was not useful to us, but one Black president, I don't think is enough to change the things that we need to change for Black people to get to where they need to be in this country. So I think it's a good step away from where we were, but I also agree that it's going to be a while before we find the change that we need.
Thank you.
I think we got normal racism back. Like, it's not going to go away. I saw a tweet when Joe Biden got elected. It's like, oh, yeah, hey, we got normal racism back. So I, too, am a pessimist. So I'm with you. I don't know. This is a country on stolen land. I don't think it could ever be redeemable or reformed. It's very pessimistic to say, but if we have a country that is founded on the genocide of a group of people and then the kidnapping and enslavement of another, I don't know. I don't know if you can fix that without it like being just completely torn down and starting over. But that's all I have to say on that.
Okay, thank you so much. And before the last question, I do want to point out, as we did earlier, that some of our writers have new books out, or relatively new books. Tay has a book called Exit Ticket, which is, I have had the pleasure of experiencing that. It is a wonderful book. And if you liked what he read tonight, that's a part of it. You know, Khalisa from North Carolina has this amazing book called Ghost in a Black Girl's Throat, which is forthcoming from Red Hen Press. Is that next month, or when is that coming out?
That comes out April 13th.
Oh, right around the corner. So, you know, pre-order it for your friends and family. It's
I love
coming
the
out.
title.
It's a wonderful title. Am I missing anybody who has an upcoming book coming out within the next few months? Dexter, please.
Yeah, I have a book coming out with Red Hen in July titled Abracadabra Sunshine.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So my last question is, and maybe this will elicit a little bit less of Afro pessimism in the response. I'm just curious, when y'all are sitting down writing, or even like after you've completed the work and you're like reading it out loud to yourself, who are you writing to? You're writing to like we the community, as Nordette pointed out, writing to your mom or your dad, to the kids you work with at school. Who are you thinking about when you're writing these works?
It depends on the poem. It really does. But I do believe that often marginalized people, and in particular Black people, they often write a communal we. Put that in their language. We're not quite as inclined to get all wrapped up. You know, every book is not about our personal struggle and our fingernails or stuff like that. At some point, we all turn around and say, you know, what's happening with us as a community?
Yeah, I think I'll just chime in and say, sometimes I think of that as like a great advantage, because I've had conversations with people who don't have that sense of community because, you know, they're not marginalized. So they're not like thinking about their people out there in time and space. And I personally relish being in that communion with like my ancestors, my cousins out down the block, and people I ain't met yet, who ain't been born yet. Absolutely. Who else wants to come in on that question? Yep. Hey.
Yeah, I think so. I'm working on projects in I think just about every genre. But no matter what I'm writing, I think I'm always writing for the expanse of humanity in the Black body and in the Black mind. So I think that's always been my charge, is to show how expansive our humanity is.
Thank you very much.
I just want to add one thing. Jericho Brown's a tradition. He's often in the I and not the we, but his I is an I we understand. So I didn't want to leave saying, oh no, we only write in the we. I know you all know better, but I know we aren't the only ones talking here. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna piggyback off what Nordette is talking about. Many times people that edit my work are like, who is this we you're talking about? And I was like, my people. Like, what you mean? And they're like, well, but what if your people don't share that same experience? Why don't you just say I? And it's I have to explain to a lot of white editors that like we have a like that's true, but we have a communal understanding of a lot of things. Like I was like born and raised in Gary, Indiana. If I'm talking about like growing up in the hood, everybody that grew up in the hood is going to understand the communal language of what I'm talking about. So I do find it like when your question of like, who are you writing to? I do often notice that like I'm intending to write to an audience, and then like editors will try to like change who I'm writing to because they think either that voice isn't speaking to all those people. Like when I'm writing, it depends. Like Nordette said, it depends on the poem. I think for me, usually I'm speaking to Black women a lot of the time, or women identified folks, because I so often want to write poems that I wish I had when I was growing up. And so I'm trying to write through that trauma or that healing. But yeah, I noticed that it shifts. It shifts after people edit my work. They want to like change who I'm speaking to. And that's a really interesting thing that I noticed just about like that silencing of my, like what I believe to be community. They want to like change or silence that. I don't know if anybody has thoughts about that, but yeah, that's what I've observed or noticed.
I do. I think it's about the desire to consume the other. And they want your deep-seated trauma, your some kind of vicarious understanding that absolutely people cannot have when it comes to a history of 400 years of oppression that's still going on in policy and yeah.
I think I agree with Nordette. I think it's lust. I think it's a feast, and I think to identify or to support a we is just too much for them to chew on. So I think I think it's just this kind of insatiable appetite for a Black voice, Black pain, Black suffering, Black life.
It seems to say more about them than it does about we, right? Dexter or Karisma, do y'all have anything to add?
When I'm writing, I'm often thinking about the difference between writing for someone and writing to someone. And so I'm often writing to other Black people. I'm writing to my ancestors. I'm writing to, the student who grows up the way that I did and is in a classroom and looks around and doesn't see any representation of themselves at the head of the classroom. Those are the people I'm writing to. Recently, I moved into, or those are the people I'm writing for, excuse me. Recently, I moved into still writing for that same audience of my ancestors, my people, but really thinking about writing to white people and being very blunt and honest about it. Like I mentioned with the "Don't Look Away," like basically saying like if you want to know what it's like to be Black, like here it is, and being pretty unabashed and unapologetic about that experience. So.
Thank you, Karisma.
Yeah, I often think a lot about both writing to and for people. I feel like a lot of my work is rooted in kinship, whether that is blood related or the family that you choose. So I feel like a lot of times I realize, especially when I'm writing about growing up, I feel like I'm writing to a former version of myself. But often I feel like I have a big family. I have a lot of cousins. So I feel like a lot of times I'm writing to my family. And I feel like one of the reasons why I've always wanted to tell a story is because, my parents met when they were young, when they were like almost children. So they sort of grew up together. So it's like telling, like being a little kid and listening to stories of like, oh, so and so, we've known them for like 30 years. Like we've been friends since the 7th grade. We walked home together and just, I don't know, they felt like little sermons in a way where it's like, it's just telling a simple story about the people they love, but it's everything to them and you can feel the passion in that. So I feel like I'm writing for people who have that similar experience, particularly Black New Orleanians. And I feel like there is, there's a Black New Orleans as opposed to other New Orleans. I feel like we have different experiences, not only as Black people in America, in the South, in New Orleans, but just in general. And I'm also thinking, I didn't realize this until recently, how I've like sort of divided my life into pre and post Katrina. Even though Katrina happened when I was around 10, I still think about like this former New Orleans, and I often get nostalgic for things, even if I don't know or remember them. So I feel like I often write for New Orleans, but also to other Black people. I was thinking about something that Toni Morrison said, like it was an interview. I don't remember the specifics, but some like a white interviewer was questioning her, and it's like, oh, you've like moved Black people to the center, and she's like, that's a really ignorant question to assume that whiteness is the center and that whiteness is something that you move away and focus on an other. Like there has never been an other. So I feel like to whom you are writing to whom you have that care, that love and respect for, I feel like a lot of it is just for Black people, but for me in particular, Black Southerners.
I feel like I've gotten a word tonight. I feel blessed. I feel held, appreciative. I think that anybody who had the pleasure to listen to the night has also felt touched. I think that people in the future who hear this, after it's been recorded, they're also being blessed by us. Thank you all so much. I'm going to bring in Toby and Monica to wrap us up. This has been a great pleasure for me personally as the host. I'll see you all out there.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. That was incredible. So glad to be doing this. It's our first event with our partnership with Maurice Carlos Ruffin, the Peauxdunque Writers Alliance. I'm very glad to also be introducing Kalisa and Dexter, whose books will be coming out. This is Kalisa's coming out April 13th. And then Dexter's Abracadabra Sunshine coming out July, I think I want to say July 20th. That's right. And also, speaking of July 30th is that deadline that Maurice was talking about for the Ann Petry Award. We'll be dropping the submission link shortly.
Yeah, that was amazing. All of the poems that were read today, I could listen to over and over again. I'm probably going to replay this event because all of you guys were incredible. I'm going to go buy your books. So thank you guys for being here with us today. And that's it for us. Our next events are going to be starting in April. So stay tuned for all of that information. We'll be rolling that out soon. Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye.